Alright, what's up, FloCombat? We're here with a super special guest. We got Hailey Cowan. If you've been watching FloCombat, you're very familiar with her work inside the cage and outside the cage. So what's up, Hailey? How you doing today on this Friday?
I'm doing good. Sorry if you can hear laughter. I'm in the gym and there's people working on the gym, so.
Oh, good. Are they laughing at you trying to figure out how to work Skype?
Probably. There is a wall separating us, but odds are good they're laughing at me.
Yeah, so we had a fun little, getting this interview set up was really fun. I gotta say, this is the kind of stuff I love working with fighters because you learn little things about them that you wouldn't otherwise know. For instance, Hailey, despite graduating college pretty recently, not so great with technology.
That's an understatement.
What?
That makes it sound better than I am.
Yeah. So I gotta know, like, how do you get through? Because I graduated in 2013. We used, technology a lot, cell phones, computer, we used stuff a lot. How did you get through 4 years of college with not knowing how to use Skype?
I actually graduated with a degree in journalism too, so we used.
Nice.
I don't know. I did well. I mean, I graduated with like a 3.8, so.
Hey, some things are better left unquestioned, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
But now, okay, so now though, your trade is something that you're a little more comfortable with, a little better at. Kicking people in the face, taking people down. You're doing pretty well at that. So coming off your second win as an amateur, another dominant decision. How did that one feel different than your debut, going in? Do you feel like you made the strides you needed to make in your second fight?
After the first fight, I watched it. I was really disappointed with my performance. Watching the second fight, I felt like it looked like I grew a whole lot. So I was really, really happy with that. Sorry, they're moving some stuff. I'm gonna move into the office.
Okay, all good.
See, here we go again.
On the move.
But yeah, so I did feel like I made some good strides between the first two, and I think the second fight I was able to showcase that I'm a complete mixed martial artist and not just a striker. So.
Nice. Well, I mean, you definitely showcased a lot there. You kind of said that you wanted to keep it a secret that your wrestling was as good as it was. You did a horrible job at keeping that a secret, I gotta say. I think the very first suplex kind of let the cat out of the bag on that one. So, when did you get into wrestling? Because this isn't something that a lot of people just pick up super fast, but you look very comfortable there. Like, where does your wrestling background date back to?
So, it really just dates back to the day that I started MMA. So I didn't wrestle before that, but I was a gymnast, and the wrestling, I don't know, the gymnastics translated best to wrestling. So the day that I walked in, my coach told me, he's like, we're going to make you a wrestler. You're going to be a really good wrestler. And I just kind of believed him. And I went and I competed in a jiu-jitsu tournament like 3 months after I started. And I took down a Division I wrestler. I don't know how many times I took it down, but I won the match 26-0 just off takedowns.
That's crazy.
So I don't know, but we were supposed to keep it a secret. I actually, I rolled my ankle in the first exchange, so it kind of threw off my movement and my striking. So I had to let the cat out of the bag a little bit. But.
Yeah, I didn't notice that you rolled your ankle. That's crazy. And you mentioned your gymnastics background, which is pretty well documented. We've talked about that before on FloCombat as well. So I don't necessarily want to dive too deep into that, but I do want to dive into something you said, which was becoming the female GSP. And I think that's super interesting because GSP famously uses a lot of gymnastics in his training. Is there a correlation there? Is there something about training gymnastics that translates well to MMA?
There's a developed fundamental strength that you get out of gymnastics that you just can't really get anywhere else. There's air awareness. First time I was in a wrestling class, we were doing a hip toss and I landed on my feet. I was supposed to land on my back and I actually landed on. I mean, you just develop. You learn your body better in gymnastics than you can anywhere else. So definitely help. I'm not training gymnastics anymore, but I did it for so long that I don't think I need to. I need to focus more on my technique than my gymnastics. But yeah, it's definitely. If you've never done gymnastics before and you want to be a good mixed martial artist, I would definitely incorporate some type of gymnastics training.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Do you still find yourself training gymnastics at all? But you kind of just answered that. So what do you do besides MMA? Because, I mean, you're a very physically imposing woman inside the cage, very physically strong. That's obvious just looking at you. What kind of training do you supplement with your MMA?
Well, I still coach gymnastics. My mom owns a gymnastics gym, and it's connected to the MMA gym. So, like, half of the gym is mixed martial arts, half of it's gymnastics. But I do a lot of running, stadium running, a lot of trail running, and I do strength and conditioning twice a week. So, but again, my strength and my speed and athleticism isn't something that I'm trying to build the way that I am my technique. So probably run 5 times a week and do strength training twice a week. So.
And is 125, do you think you'll stay at 125 moving forward? It seems like you're making the weight pretty easily, but that could always change.
Yeah, you know, I have the frame to probably fight. If I wanted to, I could probably fight as high as 45. I mean, if I wanted to put that muscle mass on, but I feel really strong there, and I feel really fast at 125. So as long as I can make the weight, that's probably where I'll stay.
And of course, you're always looking forward in your career, so it probably makes you happy to see that the UFC is investing in a 125-pound division. What was that like for you, you know, being an up-and-comer, and then you see that the UFC is finally implementing that, getting a belt in that division and everything?
Well, when I very first started in the end of 2014 is when I started training, the UFC started talking about it. And then 2016, I think we thought they were going to add it, and they didn't until this year. And I don't know, it's exciting. It's really exciting because it's like I'm coming in at the perfect time. Obviously, it would have been cool to have the first UFC belt, but whatever.
it'll have to wait just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, I'll be waiting a bit.
Yeah, and you're always looking forward. You know, I feel like from before you even took your first fight, you kind of had a vague map of how you wanted your career to go. You know, you're taking this very seriously. This is not a joke to you. You're all in. What is the next step for you? Because people are already talking about you going pro. You know, is going pro in your future? Do you want a couple more amateur fights?
I do. I want a couple more amateur fights because there's no substitute for time in the cage. Doesn't matter how good I am, how fast or strong I am. There's no substitute. And that's why I thought Christina Ricker was going to be challenging for me, because she had so many fights. So I wasn't sleeping on her at all. I know that now, especially that I've shown that I'm not just a striker, it was really hard for me to get fights to begin with. It was hard for me to get my first fight, to get someone to commit to it. So I can only imagine that it's going to be harder. I do have one scheduled now, so I'm looking at that one. A couple more after, I hope. If not, I'll probably jump in some boxing matches and stuff just to get some more time before I go pro. But as long as I'm able to keep getting fights, I'll probably do a few more amateurs. So
I like it. You say you have another one lined up already. Can you share the details on that, or is it still kind of hush-hush?
Yeah. I won't share the opponent, but I'll tell you it's for Legacy. So I'll be fighting for LFA in February in Texas. So
that's exciting.
Yeah. I don't know much about my opponent. She hasn't fought very much, but it'll be fun. I know she's a really good striker, so the plan is to be a better mixed martial artist.
That makes a ton of sense. I'm sure LFA is a promotion you've had your eye on for a while. Even AKA, the one that you fought for, is very closely tied to LFA. So what's that like for you now, being able to transition to that LFA banner? Because we see a lot of people go from LFA to the Bellator UFC. You know, it's a clear launch pad for that next level.
I'm really excited. I'm really good friends with Andrea Lee, the 125-pound champ from there, but she's going to the UFC, so that belt is about to be vacant. So I'm kind of, I'm hoping that maybe I can go in, have a couple really good amateur performances for them, and then maybe they'll have their eye on me as someone they would like to have as, fight for that belt. Who knows?
Yeah, and how much do you look at kind of that upper tier of flyweights already? Like, are you watching other women closely to see how you would match up? Are you constantly kind of stacking yourself up against them already?
Yeah, I've been watching them since I started. People that don't understand the sport at all. When I very first started, in their head, I'd be going pro in 2015. I started at the end of 2014. We knew that's not how it works. But they're like, oh, you're super athletic. You can hang. Those girls are so skilled. I sparred with Andrea a few weeks ago, and it was just so different. It was so much fun. Such a good learning experience. I'll go again in a couple weeks, actually. But yeah, I've been watching those girls for a while, and I'm really, really excited to be able to test myself against some of them soon. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, and it's funny because watching your fights, you've pretty much dominated all 18 minutes. Had to do some quick math there. All 18 minutes of cage time. But were there any moments where you felt like maybe your back was a little against the wall, or you were facing a little more adversity than maybe you expected?
The very first round of the first fight, I went back to my corner. I didn't have much to watch on Anel except some wrestling stuff, and she's a great wrestler, but Texas wrestling isn't very good. And so in my head, I didn't know she was going to be that good of a wrestler. I was really shocked. So I went back to my corner. I sat down. I was like, wow, she's a good wrestler. And my coach was like, yeah, don't let her on your legs again. I was like, okay.
Run me through your camp, your coaches, you know, who you're training with on a daily basis. Who's helping you prepare?
So my head coach is Jake Brennan. Like I said earlier, we do everything. Like, I don't strike to be a striker. I don't wrestle to be a wrestler. I strike to wrestle. I wrestle to strike. I wrestle to jiu-jitsu. Everything we do is based on MMA. So, and I think that showed my last fight. I was able to flow pretty well back and forth. Obviously, I have a lot of improvements to make, but that's why I like GSP so much, because his fluidity from striking to wrestling is so, like, you don't even see it happening, and the next thing you know, they're on the ground, and you're like, wait. Yeah. So I have Jake Brennan, who helps me out. His brother Nick is my other coach. Yeah, they coach me in everything. And then I'll go and train with Donnie Aaron every once in a while at Karate Mafia with Andrea Lee to get some Muay Thai in. But, yeah, Jake's my coach. We do boxing, Dutch-style kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and wrestling here. And every class we're, like I said, not just striking to strike. Everything we do, every combo we throw is with wrestling in mind. Same thing with wrestling. It's with jiu-jitsu in mind, or ground and pound, or whatever, transitions.
Yeah. And when you jumped right into it, which discipline was kind of the toughest for you to pick up on, do you think?
Jiu-jitsu. Because I'm like, I was very naturally a wrestler. And so my coaches always said, you know, stop being a wrestler and flow. Like, everything I wanted to do, I wanted to throw people on their heads and smash, and that's not jiu-jitsu. So, and I'm still learning that. That's still hard for me. They tell me I'm anti-jiu-jitsu, which it's actually really good for MMA, I guess. Not so good for jiu-jitsu. I actually did really well in my jiu-jitsu tournaments, but that's been the hardest for me is learning how to be a jiu-jitsu fighter, because
Sure.
like I said, I want to throw people on their heads and smash.
That's been clear, you know, watching your fights, it's pretty clear that that's kind of what you're into. So is there any disappointment? You know, obviously you're happy going 2-0, you're happy with your performances, but you can always be a little critical, as I'm sure you are. Do you wish that you had gotten the finish in one or both of those fights, or does the experience gain kind of outweigh the finish?
Yes and yes. So same thing happened in jiu-jitsu tournaments when I won like my first 10 matches by submission. And then the one when I faced the Division I wrestler, I won by points, and I actually felt like I lost. And it was a really dominant performance, but I just felt, and the fights were the same way. You know, I was happy that I got the win, but both fights I didn't feel like you feel after you win, because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. You know, I'm supposed to go in and get a knockout, a TKO, or a submission, not win by points.
How do you... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, no, that was just the face I was making.
No. I was going to say, how do you keep yourself from over pursuing the finish? Because we know a lot of times when people do that, they get caught, they get swept, they get reversed. It could almost be a negative to go after it too hard. So how do you keep yourself calm enough to you know, not expose yourself while going for the finish?
You know, that's something I think I've been really blessed with, because I've been real calm. I haven't had any issues getting too hyped or amped up. I probably go the other direction. I'm probably a little too relaxed in there. That's one thing we're working on. I want to say I'm guaranteeing a finish this fight, because we are working on it. I really, really want to guarantee that, but I don't want to say that and then it not happen and me be like all upset over and over again. So, we're working on that. We're working on the finish. I don't care I don't care if it's a knockout. I don't care if it's a technical knockout. I don't care if it's a doctor stoppage. I love being in the cage, but 9 minutes is a long time.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But like you said, your conditioning looked amazing in both fights. You know, were you feeling, obviously conditioning running a trail is different from a mixed martial arts fight. Were you feeling even a little bit winded by the end of the 9 minutes?
No, I train a lot of rounds. Like, I've got a guy that I'm training with right now, one of my training partners. He's a pro, and he fights at 35, so he's not much bigger than me, but we'll do one of us will be in the cage with the coach, and the other one of us will be rolling with one of our best jiu-jitsu guys, and then then we switch, so that there's no break. I mean, and we do 5 minutes because he's a pro, and it's a little bit more beneficial for me to go 5 than for him to go 3.
Sure.
So, I don't, that's one thing that I wanted to make sure from the beginning, because to me, getting winded would be the scariest thing ever, just not being able to, to be exhausted. So I don't think that's something I'll ever have to worry about because I focus on it so much in the gym.
Yeah, well, that's excellent, and it's always a pleasure catching up with you. It's great watching you do your thing, and we're excited to see you at LFA too. That's a really exciting step. So thanks again for the time, and we look forward to that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm a doofus.
That made it way better. That made it so much better that you couldn't figure out how to use Skype.